Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Spann Report podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 324 of the report. And normally we'd be opening up with like a little cold open. I had something funny or something informative for y'all. But yo, man, your man Spann been running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Man, I ain't had time to do it. So no cold open, man. We're gonna get right into the shenanigans here with the Spann Report podcast this evening. And before I get into everything Spann Report related, of course, I gotta let you guys know how to get in touch with us over here at the Spann Report podcast. Let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're listening to us here live and watching us here live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope, you can chop it up with your man Spann while we're doing the show, man. So like I said, hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. You can go there, leave your emails. We'll read those emails here and reply to those emails here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So you can go there, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. You can also go to our website at www.thespannreport.com. Go there, watch replays of the show, man, because we can, do that. You can also donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. So, yeah, man, we got the business up out of the way, man. How y'all doing this evening, man? It's cold outside. I guess it is January, and it is Michigan. And, I ain't, as much as I complain about this shit, man, I don't give a damn about it being January, and I don't give a damn about it being Michigan. Nigga, I can't wait for the springtime to get his ass around here. Bring your funky ass on springtime. I can't wait to go to work and just have a t-shirt on, bruh. I can't wait, man. I can't. Like, you ever try to go to work and go to the bathroom and you got on like bibs and shit, overalls or whatever, man, and it's like over your clothes or whatnot. Like it's an ordeal, bro. Like try to whip it out when you and try not to go. You can't go like, at the last minute, man. You might mess around, piss on yourself. Nah, man, you got to go and you got to plan that shit out, man. You got to plan that shit out, man. When you got all that stuff on, man, you can't just go in the back of the truck, go to like a porta potty and everything and just, nah, man, it's kind of time consuming, man. It's an ordeal. So yeah, man, you got to kind of time that out, man. I be thinking about that sort of shit. I have to deal with that at work and stuff, man. It's crazy. I got some random thoughts this week, man. It's not that many random thoughts, but I do have some random thoughts this week, man. One thing I was thinking about this week, and it's actually something that I've been thinking about over the course of the last year or so since I watched that documentary on Who Killed Malcolm X, right? For any of you guys who have not seen it yet, it's a documentary. It's basically, you about to get spoiled, so you better watch it now. But there's this guy who basically took it upon himself to investigate whether who it was who killed Malcolm X, and ultimately we find out that the guy who killed Malcolm X was like living amongst folks in Newark, New Jersey, and it was like common knowledge amongst the people in the community that this guy was the guy who put an end to Malcolm X's life. And for the life of me, I can't understand how regular motherfuckers in Newark, New Jersey knew who killed Malcolm. He had become a pillar of the community in Newark, New Jersey. They talked about this man in glowing terms. And yet we somehow allow Louis Farrakhan to cook as if he don't know what the fuck happened. The nation, the leader of the Nation of Islam, still to this day acts as though he don't know shit. Now I get it, man. Plausible deniability and all this other shit, but the rest of us who aren't a part of the nation and just on some critical thinking sort of shit. Man, come on, man, you had to know something. You had to know something, man. You the leader of the whole thing, man. How the regular motherfuckers that ain't even a part of the nation know, but you don't? Come on, man. Something ain't right, man. We've been letting Farrakhan cook far too long on that I don't know shit, man, and I ain't had nothing to do with it, despite the fact that he was one of the people that was kind of amplifying some of the animus against Malcolm X towards the end of his life, man. I was just thinking about that though, man. I can't shake this idea that Farrakhan has been pretty much able to cook for so long. And not only that, the guy who killed Malcolm X is, he died of natural causes and shit. right? He like lived a whole ass life, you know, and he had taken somebody else's out, man. That's crazy. But it's one of the things I was thinking about, man. Real talk. Another thing I was kind of thinking about this week, man. So every now and again, you know, we go on food runs and shit while I'm at work or whatever, man. Somebody be like, you know, I'm about to go to McDonald's or whatever. Then anybody want something, right? And I hate the guy who's always got like these elaborate ass fucking orders and shit when you go to like pick up the food. So you go and you're like, yeah, man, give me a double quarter pounder with cheese, but like take the cheese off and light mayo, no pickles, extra lettuce, and I want my fries fresh out the grease, man, because they get, you know, they get cold quick, baby. So you gotta make sure you tell them fries fresh out the grease, man. And let me get some extra ketchup and some mac sauce. I'm like, all right, nigga, you want to write all this shit down, man? No, you got it. You good. And then not only that, he ain't got exact change. He want to hand you like a $20 bill and shit. And you like, all right, man. So you got his 20, and then this other guy, he just wants some chicken nuggets and like and a Coke. So you got his 10, and then you got the shit that you want. So you got your own separate money, and then you get up to the like, all right, so I got these 3 orders and shit, right? And then you go there, you tell him all this shit that you remember, because remember, my man said he didn't want you to write shit down. All right, cool. So I tell him what I remember, and then you bring the food back. And this nigga like, hey man, I told you a quarter pounder with cheese without the cheese. I'm like, nigga, that's what they gave you. Well, what my Rumalade sauce said? Like, nigga, we went to McDonald's. Ain't no Rumalade sauce. You ain't even ask for that shit. Like, I hate that guy, man. The guy who always has the elaborate fucking order when you try to do him a favor by going to pick up food. Also, let me tell y'all this right now. When I'm going to pick up the food, I ain't checking your shit. I'm not about to be all up in your bag, making sure I'm like, hey man, all right. So I'm looking at the receipt. If the receipt says what I said, then we good. Now, if you ain't got your shit, I'm sorry for you, bro. So long as your change is correct, that's all I give a damn about. You get your change back. That's it. But yeah, man, that guy, man, whoever that guy is, it may be you. I hate your ass, man. Real talk. You's a motherfucker, man. I can't stand you. Right? Another one that I was thinking about, man. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, let me shout out the homies Rashani and Brandon. I was on an episode of the Hindsight Movie Reviews podcast with them. We did a recap of the movie Fear of a Black Hat, man. One of my favorite movies of all time. It'll never be knocked out of my top 5. It just won't be, man. That movie means so much to me. So many quotables out of that motherfucking so many quotables out of that damn film, man. And it's just it's funny how some of that stuff holds up today. I mean, a lot of it probably wouldn't, just in like the times that we live in and like being woke and some of the political correctness that isn't a part of that film. But I mean, just if you consume it for the time in which it was made, that movie was great, man. And I had a good time enjoying that movie and that review with the homies Brandon and Rashani of the Hindsight Movie Reviews podcast, man. So you guys make sure you go ahead, check that out, the latest episode. I think it actually should be coming out tomorrow. I think he's releasing that episode tomorrow, but we did the recap of Fear of a Black Hat. So you guys should most definitely check that out, man. Real talk. Now, another thing, man, I kind of want to talk about y'all have kind of been with me in this little odyssey when it comes to like, you know, I bought the house and stuff. And, you know, trying to get shit for the house, you know, I got the mattress and shit that came. That's all ready and done for. The other thing that just happened that I talked to y'all about last week was the fact that, your man Spann got his new dryer back too. Yeah, man. So I told y'all that, you know, I'd been dealing with this ABC warehouse place about getting my new dryer or whatever. And they kept telling me to call them back in a week. They're like, call back in a week, we'll have some more information for you. And I call back in a week, these motherfuckers ain't got no new information for me. They did that shit for 2 weeks. Now, mind you, like I told you, they got my money already. So I ain't really happy about the fact that you calling me. I got to call you and you telling me you ain't got shit for me. Nah, man, that ain't how we play this shit, right? So, just so happy, Lowe's came through. They had the shit in stock. And we got that damn thing delivered in 2 days, bruh. 2 motherfucking days. Now the thing is, I got to install this motherfucker, and I ain't got the tools I need to do it. But I'll be damned if your man Spann ain't gonna be at the Home Depot tomorrow trying to get that tool and rent that motherfucker to get this dryer installed, man. And I thought about like paying somebody to do this shit, and I'm like, nah, I know how to do this stuff, man. I do this stuff at work all the time. Now, I ain't about to pay nobody else to do this shit for me. I'll go ahead and get the tool and I'll do it myself. So yeah, man, that's one of the things I was thinking about. Another thing I was thinking about, man, you got to support your people. You got to support your people. And one of my brothers, man, one of my big brothers, man, he's got a clothing store that he's promoting, man, and I want to promote him. You know, I always want to promote people doing big things, man. I always want to promote people doing big things. And one of my big brothers, man, my man Jay, he's got a new store. As a matter of fact, let me pull this up so you guys can see some of the merchandise up in the store. Damn, I got so many damn tabs open. Oh shit, hold on a second. I didn't know I took that off. But yeah, man, my man Jay, he's got a clothing store, and I want you guys to go and patronize his business, man. Go ahead, put some money in your man in his pocket, just like I would like for y'all to put money in my pocket when you donate, man, to help us keep doing this thing, right? But let's check out my man Jay's store, man. As a matter of fact, it's called the Men's Bar and Lounge, man. It's the Men's Bar and Lounge, man. He's got the high fashions in here for you, bro. He's got the golf men's long sleeve shirts, man. He's got the slacks, man. Hold on. He's got ties in here. He call them my ties, man. They kind of fly, bro. They kind of fly. Hold on, okay, this thing taking a little while to load up. Okay, the Mahusive pocket square handkerchiefs, wood bow tie, cufflinks set for men business suite, hanky, and neckwear. Like the whole shit, man. The whole shit. He's got the neckties, he got the suspenders, he's got the bow ties, man. As a matter of fact, he's got the whole, he got tuxedos in this motherfucker, man. Hold on. You got tuxedos in this shit. Let's go to the happy hour, bro. Oh no, the happy hour is where the watches is at. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, man, this is my kind of shit right here, bro. This is my kind of shit right here, man. Like the transparent skeleton, like the mechanical watches where you can see the inner workings of the watch and shit, bro. Oh, I fucks with it. I fucks with this heavy, man. I'm gonna have to cop me one of these. Add that to the collection because your man Spann like a nice timepiece. You know what I'm saying? A nice timepiece sets off your outfit quite right. You know what I'm saying? So y'all need to go ahead and do that, man. Y'all need to go ahead and do that. Now he got the watches, but also let's check out the nightcaps. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit, he got the fucking newsboy hats, man. You got the newsboy hats, man. He got the fedoras up in this motherfucker, man. You know what? I might rock this. I was just talking about how cold it is outside, man. He got the winter knitted hat, beanies and shit. And it's actually this motherfucker kind of wrap around your whole ass head, man. Real talk. I'm gonna leave the show note. I'm gonna leave this the link to the store in the show notes, man. So you guys can go ahead and hit up the Men's Bar and Lounge, man. Lots of clothes in here, lots of fashions in here for you guys to check out, man. Real talk. And shout out to my brother Jay, man, because he's out here doing the damn thing, man. Real talk. Let's go check out. Let's see. Champagne, please. Oh, yeah. See, this is the high fashion shit right here. This kind of shit your man Spann should be in, but I'm too blue collar and shit. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even so much that I'm just blue collar. Your man Spann don't have nowhere to go, man. We in the COVID, man. Ain't nobody supposed to be doing shit. We ain't supposed to be doing nothing. But if I was, your man Spann probably be you probably see your man Spann out here rocking some shit like this here, man. Because that's kind of like my speed. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely rock this black checkered dots men's suits like double breasted. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I like it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't like the most fashion forward motherfucker, but this kind of shit right here, that your man Spann will be rocking, man. Real talk. Y'all go ahead and patronize my man. Go ahead and visit the store, Men's Bar and Lounge, man. Like I said, I'm gonna have the link in the show notes so you guys can go ahead and check that out and tell him your man Spann sent you, man. Real talk. Shout out to my man Jay for hooking that up, man, for real. And yo, man, that's been my random thoughts. Let's time to get to the news. All right, man. Our first story here in the news has to do with the passing of one legendary actress, Cicely Tyson, man. Let's see. We get this story here. This comes out of Variety.com. It says Emmy and Tony winning actress Cicely Tyson, who distinguished herself in theater, film, and television, died on Thursday afternoon. She was 96. I have managed Miss Tyson's career for over 40 years, and each year was a privilege and a blessing, her manager, Larry Thompson, said in a statement. Cicely thought of her new memoir as a Christmas tree decorated with all of the ornaments of her personal and professional life. Today, she placed the last ornament, a star, on top of the tree. Tyson made her film debut in a small role in 1957's 12 Angry Men and her formal debut in the 1959 Sidney Poitier film Odds Against Tomorrow, followed by The Comedians, The Last Angry Man, A Man Called Adam, and The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Refusing to participate in the blaxploitation movies that became popular in the late 60s, she waited until 1972 to return to the screen in the drama Sounder, which captured several Oscar nominations, including one for Tyson as Best Actress. Tyson received an Oscar nomination in 1973 for Martin Ritt's drama Sounder and an honorary Oscar in 2018. Variety reviewer A.D. Murphy enthused that the film was outstanding and added that the performance of Paul Winfield and Cicely Tyson as a devoted, though impoverished parents are milestones in their own careers. Let me just say this right now, man. Cicely Tyson was a goddamn titan in the game, man. Like, think about this. You know, a lot of us, you know, I know, like, I'm 40 years old now, and I've been doing this job that I got now. Like, it's crazy how fast the time goes. I've been doing this job for I've been 12 years, bro. It goes by fast. And you look at somebody like a Cicely Tyson, who was dedicated to her crafts to the point where she pretty much worked until the end. There was no retirement for Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson, I think we can and we can attribute that to Tyler Perry to a large extent, man. Tyler Perry would put her in quite a bit of his productions. I know she was the last thing I can remember seeing Cicely Tyson in was it was a movie. I forget the name of this damn movie now. Ain't that a bitch? But it was a movie that it got largely panned because of the wigs and stuff. All I can remember from that movie is like my man was like, ashtray bitch. Like, I remember that being a meme and stuff with my man with his legs crossed in the bed talking about ashtray bitch or whatever. And it was about this woman who was basically abusing the elderly or whatever. And Cicely Tyson was one of the elderly women who were being abused by this woman who was, you know, yeah, what I said. I just forget the name. I forget the name of this movie. But yo, man, like the fact that she wanted to and continued to work all the way up until she 96, man. Like, never just like, you know what? I think I've run this race long enough. I think I've done enough in my career. Like, and also Cicely Tyson didn't start working as an actress until she was 30 years old. 30. Now think about this for a minute. Like, I know, like, we like the joke about rappers a lot of times, man. Like, if you don't make it by 30, nigga, you might as well hang it up. You know what I'm saying? We joke about rappers like that all the time. And like, here was a person who pursued a career in the arts and didn't really get anything or any traction in the field until she was at the age where most people were telling you to give it up. And so Cicely Tyson, man, will always be a legend in my book, man. So many memorable roles, so many memorable scenes, man. Some of the people that she got to work with, legendary actors and actresses, man. Cicely Tyson is definitely one to be remembered, and she's going to be missed. But we lost her today, this past Thursday at 96. And the other part about it that's kind of weird is that, you know, because we live in an age of social media where everybody shares everything and wants to be first in all things all the time. You know, the weird thing about it, though, is that like when I first saw that, like, Cicely Tyson, somebody said, rest in peace, Cicely Tyson. I really thought it was some bullshit, right? I thought it was some BS because of how often like the internet just kills folks off, man. Y'all been killing Avant off for the last 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Avant still putting music out. So I didn't believe it. You know, when I first saw that, like, Cicely Tyson had passed away, even at the age of 96, I didn't believe it at first. And so it took a while for it to even register with me that it was a real thing that we lost Cicely Tyson, man. But yeah, man, we lost a legend this week. Cicely Tyson dead at the age of 96, man. Real talk. Rest in peace, sister. Another story that we got here in the news is the Democrats in this, I believe the Senate, have proposed legislation that will make Washington, D.C. the 51st state in the union.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. So we get this story here. Let me pull this up. We get this story here. This comes out of NBC News. As a matter of fact, is there a video attached to this? No, there isn't. So I'm going to read this story. This comes out of NBCnews.com. It says the House and Senate Democrats introduced legislation Wednesday that will make Washington, D.C. the 51st state. The measure was reintroduced in the House by Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, a Democrat who represents the District of Columbia, and his companion was unveiled in the Senate by Senator Tom Caper of Delaware. As of Tuesday evening, Norton said that she had more than 200 co-sponsors in the House. There's never been a time when statehood for the district was more likely, Norton said in a statement, adding that the bill was passed by the House last year for the first time and now had a record 202 co-sponsors. With the Senate companion bill also gaining co-sponsors, we're ready to achieve voting representation and full local self-government for the 712,000 residents of the District of Columbia. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer have committed to bringing the bill to the floor for a vote, Norton said. She added that with Democrats in the majority in the House and the Senate, and with President Joe Biden's support, this is the time we can finally correct this historic injustice and give D.C. residents the same rights as any other taxpaying Americans. Now, here's the thing, right? Because I kind of talk about this when it comes to Detroit. Like I pay income taxes in Detroit, but I can't vote in none of the damn Detroit elections and shit, right? And so here we have a situation in Washington, D.C., where the citizens of Washington, D.C. pay taxes, but they don't get any sort of like representation in the government as an entity in and of itself. And so that right there is a crime to me, right? That they taxing you like a motherfucker, but you can't get no sort of like representation within the government. That's bullshit. But the other part about this, and this is the reason why I think this can be very impactful, is that because of the current makeup of the government, and because of how I believe the government largely doesn't necessarily represent the needs and the wants of the majority of its citizens, right? And it's because of how the government is currently structured. And I've talked about this on previous shows where, you know, we keep talking about Republicans and Democrats and, you know, one half of the country, one party representing one half of the country and another party representing the other half of the country. And I don't necessarily believe that Republicans represent half of the country. I think what we're finding out more and more is that Republicans, by and large, probably represent maybe 33 to 40% of the population, and Democrats represent a little bit more than like 55 to 60% of the population. Because especially when you look at like the Senate makeup, like you got you got states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, you know, like these places got maybe 13 motherfuckers in them, bruh. Right? But they get 2 United States senators, the same as California would, the same as New York would, the same as Texas would, the same as Florida would, you know, some of your more populous places. And I know that the original, like the founders of like the way that they kind of founded this was to kind of give weight. So like the smaller states would feel like they had some level of representation to counterbalance some of the more populous places. The problem is a lot of what can't happen with the government is because these small minorities can block everything through filibustering shit, right? And so when the majority, like a party wins the majority and say, for instance, say they have control of the House, say they have control of the Senate, and they have the White House, and they have they have a mandate from the American people, because the American people are the ones who put them in power to push forward a certain agenda, right? They don't get a chance to enact that agenda because you've got the minority party who can pretty much put a block on anything, and it's like we gonna filibuster this shit. Fuck it, y'all ain't getting nothing done. This is part of the reason why they're talking about getting rid of the filibuster. And I'm not sure if I'm like if I want them to do that either, because careful what you wish for when the other side's getting power, right? But the reason why I think it's impactful for like DC to get statehood, but not only that, they would get representation. They'll get their own representation within the Congress, right? So they'll get a representative probably in the House of Representatives. They'll get 2 senators, right? And so when we talk about like the gridlock that's in the Senate right now, there's 50-50 Republicans and Democrats. You add Washington, D.C., you possibly may get 2 more Democrats on there. Depends on, how things are swinging in D.C. You might get a Republican in there. You might even split it. Who knows? But you add 2 more seats to that. I honestly believe that Puerto Rico should probably also get statehood too, make it a 52nd state. So you add 2 more senators, and so with the representation that they have within the government, maybe more things can get passed through depending on the whims of the people, because the people are sending them there to do a job. And what's happening is they're not doing the fucking job. And so more representation for more people could actually alleviate some of that, depending upon, how it plays out legislatively or partisan in a partisan way. It may work out. It may work itself out in other ways. But I think that DC should have some representation within the government, same as Puerto Rico. But the fact that they're talking about this now and there's an opportunity for this to become a state because of the way that the current makeup of the government is now. Yeah, man, kudos to them. And so shout out to DC. Hopefully they get what they want, because that's a bitch, man, to be paying taxes to some motherfuckers who ain't got to hear nothing you got to say, man. That's some bullshit, bro. So yeah, man, that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news is yo, man, they about to put them Dubmans out of here, bro. They about to put the Dubmans out. Yeah, man. We getting them Tubmans, them Harriet Tubmans. I'm saying it the way I want to say it. I'm saying it the way I want to say it. Them Harriet Tubmans. You heard me? Because I be out here flipping them Tubmans like, not really. I don't do that kind of shit, man. It's a debit card, man. You can only do that but once, but but yo, man, we get this story here from NBCnews.com. It says President Joe Biden will move forward with a plan announced 5 years ago, installed by the Trump administration, to place abolitionist Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. The Treasury Department is taking steps to resume efforts to put Harriet Tubman on the front of the new 20 notes, said White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She said it is important that the country's money reflect the history and diversity of our country, and Harriet Tubman's image gracing the new 20 note would certainly reflect that. The Obama administration announced in 2016 that it would be replacing Tubman on the bill, replacing Andrew Jackson, but the Trump administration said in 2019 that the change would be delayed until at least 2028 because of technical issues, which was always bullshit. We already know what it was about. We know what it was really about. Psaki said the White House is exploring ways to speed up that effort. If the change is made, Tubman will be the first Black person to be placed on U.S. currency. The initial decision to place Tubman on the bill was made after a 10-month review by the Obama administration, which solicited suggestions from the public on who should be on the face of a newly redesigned 20. Trump had frequently praised Andrew Jackson and talked about modeling his presidency after him. So, yeah, man, again, like I said, we kind of really know what that was about. It wasn't so much about security reasons or anything like that. It was mostly about, for one, Obama proposed it, and we know that the Trump administration, if they told Trump that Obama did anything, his thing was to do the exact opposite of whatever it was that Obama did. And like I said, I thought it was great for not only just like the symbolism of it, but also, man, like, yo, when we talk about like Black Americans and shit, like, I know I'm not the most patriotic nigga, like, I'm just not. Like, my job gave us fucking like sweaters and shit with like it had like American eagles and fucking flags and shit. I'm like, I'm not wearing this shit, and it just that I'm not very patriotic in that way. But that does not mean that my people haven't contributed to the fabric and the nature and the greatness that is a part of what it means to be an American, right? And so for her to be represented on the $20 bill speaks to sort of like the struggle that we've come through in order for us to even be recognized in that way. She would be the first Black person to be put on money here in the United States. She shouldn't be the last. There should also be other people of color. There should be some Hispanic folks in. There should be some Asian folks on the money. Like, these are the people who contributed to what America is, And so for them, for the Trump administration to like kind of delay that for some, like I said, very petty reasons or whatever. But Harriet Tubman, the Tubmans are coming, man. So I can't wait. I'm gonna just have like one framed and shit. I'm gonna put it here in the office or whatever. I'm just frame me up some Tubmans, man. Real talk. That's in the news, man. Another story that we got here in the news is there was a doctor who was very skeptical about the COVID vaccine, but she changed her mind and she went ahead and she got that shit, y'all. Yeah, man. So we get this story here. This also comes out of NBC News. It said 10 years ago, my father-in-law fell 13 feet from the top of his tractor trailer. Only after completing his delivery, driving 35 miles home and showering, did he finally go to the emergency department. Although he had 5 broken ribs and a lung contusion, he was discharged. He returned to the doctor with difficulty breathing, but it would take several visits during which symptoms were dismissed and test results misinterpreted to diagnose fluid around his lungs and heart. He required surgery and suffered a post-operative cardiac arrest. He survived. His survival is a miracle. I reflected on this complex relationship between racism and mistrust as I considered whether to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Throughout our family remained vigilant about my father-in-law's medical care. We carefully observed his interactions with providers to ensure his pain was adequately treated, symptoms taken seriously, and discharge instructions explained well. we are Black, and I know these standards are not always guaranteed for us. I'm a doctor, and I've seen Black patients treated with disrespect, their concerns and symptoms dismissed. And truthfully speaking, I know, like, and sometimes, like, when we would talk about the COVID vaccine, many of the times it is sort of surrounded like this idea that like you were either stupid or you were dumb for not even considering it, or you kind of crazy with the conspiracy theories and everything. And one of the things I've always kind of like been cognizant of is the fact that like when it comes to Black people, like our paranoia is rooted in something, right? It doesn't come from anywhere. We always like we are very keenly aware of the things that happened before, and it kind of molds how we move going forward, right? So I've always been cognizant of some of the skepticism that a lot of Black folks have about the COVID-19 vaccine, whether or not they should take it, or whether they should take it or not, right? Now, personally, when they make that boy available for your boy, I'm going to take said vaccine. And I say that because, like, for one, like, think about some of the conspiracy theories that you've heard about the COVID-19 vaccine, right? That one, that they would be like, forcing folks to get it, right? Truthfully speaking, they don't really have to force anybody to get it. As a matter of fact, many of the people who told you that the COVID was not even a real pandemic, that this was a disease that's no worse than the flu, that that it was going to disappear miraculously in April when it got warm outside, that you'd only have to worry about it unless you only had to worry about it unless you were of a certain age, and we find out that children are dying from this more and more every day, and that also people kind of like judge COVID based on the mortality rate, not so much about the symptoms that you end up living with after you've had COVID, right? So if I can prevent many of those things from happening by taking this vaccine, then damn it, why wouldn't I? Right? Now, I know some folks be joking about like, yo, man, you gonna take that motherfucking COVID vaccine, nigga, boy, you gonna take that shit, boy, then like 25 years later, nigga, you gonna be talking about some, man, I got mesothelioma from taking that vaccine, nigga. And I'm thinking to myself, like, nigga, I got that vaccine might have just gave me 25 more years. As opposed to, I might have checked out last week had I not gotten it, or had I got the COVID and my body didn't have the antibodies, or my body I wasn't an asymptomatic carrier. Like the shit really hits your board. Like that's the other part. You playing fucking Russian roulette because you don't know how your body is going to react to it, right? The other part about it is like just kind of understanding how vaccines work, right? Like, getting the vaccine doesn't mean that you won't get COVID-19. That's not what it means. What it means is it's giving your body an opportunity to understand what this is that's attacking it and giving it the means to kind of fight it off. It's much like the flu shot, right? Like, a whole bunch of people who tell you they're like, yo, man, I don't fuck with that flu shot, bro. I don't fuck with it, man. That flu shot, man, you get sick when you take the flu shot, man. I was fine until I got nah, bro. That's not how it works. You didn't get sick from the flu shot. You actually got the flu. You got the flu. And then your body fought it off. Now, imagine had you not taken the fucking flu shot, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. I mean, we think about we millions of people used to die of the flu. Millions. We don't see those kind of death tolls from flu infections anymore because we vaccinated against those things. Same thing with smallpox. We don't see smallpox anymore. Why? Because they came up with a vaccine that's kind of eradicated it, right? Same thing with like measles, mumps. A lot of that shit started just going away because we had started immunizing folks, and you start building up this herd immunity because we were immunizing people. And it gets to a point, man, where like people who talking about, man, I don't trust this shit, man. I don't trust these vaccines. Nigga, I ain't never took no vaccine. Like, man, how in the fuck did you go to school? Because you had to go to fucking school in order to, like, you had to have the shots in order to go to school. You know what I'm saying? So like you've had some sort of vaccination, like, but be that as it may, for a doctor to say that she also had skepticisms, that she also was a bit wary, like that kind of hits a little different, right? Like, and there's a thing where like, people are just like, yo, man, I don't really know. I kind of won't. I don't want to be the first nigga. I ain't gonna be the first nigga to go out there and take it, man. I'm gonna let them test that shit out on other people. Like, again, we gonna bring this back. Largely, the people who were talking about, I ain't about to be the first. They ain't have a shot at being the first one, no way. Right? They ain't had near shot at being the first one. You got folks who were telling you this wasn't nothing for you to worry about, who are jumping the line to get those vaccines. Right? Jumping the line to get it. Now, if these white folks who were telling me that they like this is some bullshit, is now jumping the line to go get it, I don't know, bro. It might be worth, I don't trust them to tell me the truth anyway. A lot of times, especially depending on who it's coming from. So yeah, man. And we got Jonathan in the chat room. Jonathan says, he said, I've already been vaccinated, yet I was skeptical at first. Yet I did my research and consulted with doctors in my family about this. And yes, at the beginning of the pandemic, I heard black folks can't get COVID. Come to find out, we are highly susceptible. Listen here, man. I heard that. I made those jokes. Like, I remember around March when this first became a thing, I remember like seeing they were talking about like in Africa. Like they weren't seeing the COVID numbers that they were seeing in Asia. It wasn't happening in Africa. And so we started making the jokes, man, because we got that melanin in us, baby. Black people move different, baby. They can't fuck with us like that. And then you come over here and, we find out that the COVID was affecting our community in a more stringent way than like any other community. And here's the other part about that, right? Keep in mind about this. It's almost like when they start talking about the mask wearing and shit. This is how selfish motherfuckers are. When they told people that, like, you wearing like the mask could protect you from getting COVID-19, mask was flying off the motherfucking shelves. So much so that Dr. Fauci and the CDC had to start telling people like, well, nah, like, it won't help you, which is like a real fucked up thing for them to do. Let's make no mistake about it. Like, that was some real bad messaging for them to tell people that, like, no, the mask doesn't really help you. And what they were really trying to do was like, yo, y'all buying up so much mask, we can't get anything for the actual essential workers, the healthcare workers that are dealing with this in a much more acute way than you are, right? But when they were telling people that wearing a mask is to help prevent you from getting COVID-19, people were buying that shit up, and you couldn't, like, people start fashioning, like, coordinating their clothes with the mask and shit, right? But the minute they started telling people that the mask, it wasn't necessarily to like protect you from getting COVID, it was to protect the people around you from possibly getting it. Suddenly people are like, man, fuck that, man. What about my personal freedom? I gotta wear a mask for this motherfucker, man. Fuck him. I don't give a fuck about him, man. Like, I ain't wearing no motherfucking mask. Nigga, I'm about to go out here. I'm about to go to the club, nigga. I'm about to go to this motherfucking party, nigga. We about to go out here, have drinks, nigga. We gonna have a little kickback at the crib. You know what I'm saying? And like, you start seeing like the selfishness of it. But in our community, man, we were being hit so much harder. And it was when I noticed when our community started getting hit much harder was when like a whole lot of other people were just like, well, I don't know if I give a damn about this COVID-19 as much as I did before. Because it's happening to them, right? It's happening to them. It's happening in their communities. And we're fine over here. I got healthcare. I got medical care. I got like, and it doesn't really hit people until it hits somebody they know personally, man. Personally, it's a whole lot of folks out here who've been acting reckless until somebody they know personally gets hit with it, passes away from it. I lost 3 people last year. 3. It hits different, right? So yeah, man, for the fact that we've got doctors, black doctors who like, yo, man, I was skeptical at first, and like it's not to dismiss people's fears, right? That's the other part about that when talking about the COVID vaccine is not to dismiss people's fears, but also give them a clear understanding of what is and what isn't, right? And so, like, I saw a lot of folks invoking the Tuskegee experiments when talking about whether or not they would get the COVID-19 vaccine and whatnot. And part of the reason why a lot of folks don't trust getting the COVID-19 vaccine. And the misconception about the Tuskegee experiment was that like the government was giving black men syphilis, right? First thing the folks like a lot of the skeptics were throwing at you, man. Man, I don't know, man, nigga. I know you heard about Tuskegee, nigga. You know, if you trust that shit, I don't trust you, nigga. I don't know. But the misconception was that the government was giving black men syphilis to study them and find out how syphilis ravages the body and whatnot. That wasn't exactly what happened. The crime that the U.S. government did in that particular study was not giving black men syphilis. They didn't give it to them. Those black men had syphilis already. Right? The crime that the government perpetuated on in that instance was that they told those men that they would treat them for their syphilis, right? Not that they gave them syphilis, that they would treat them for their syphilis, and they gave these men this idea that finally they were going to get some health care. And what we found out was they weren't actually treating them. They were watching them. They were observing them as the syphilis ravaged through their bodies. That's what happened. They didn't give it to them. They already had it, right? And so when you know like some of that history, when you understand some of that history, it kind of colors how you observe some of these things, man. That's one of the things about like why I become such like a history buff. And I'm gonna have one of my partners, man. He's become a real fucking historian. I'm gonna have one of my partners come on the show, first show of the next month. But like, when you understand the history of shit, then you can start seeing the patterns of stuff, and you start noticing this thing has happened before, and like if how it happened in like, oh damn, I see the similarities of that today, right? I see the similarities of that today, and so this is part of the reason why I'm real big on like civics and history and stuff like that, because we've seen some of the same things that happened back in the day happen again, because so much of this is not necessarily being taught anymore, right? Not even being taught anymore. It's very important for us to know this stuff. So yeah, man, shout out to this doctor for not only coming forward to say like, yo, man, I didn't necessarily think this would be a good idea, but then ultimately coming to the conclusion that like, for me and my family, this is probably the best thing that I could possibly do. And I would encourage you to do the same, man. So like it's the same thing with me when it comes to voting. Same thing it is when it comes to this COVID-19 vaccine, man. Like I want to get back to normal life just like everybody else. I want to get back to like how they living in fucking Australia and New Zealand and shit. These motherfuckers is back to normal. We can't even have a goddamn backyard barbecue and no shit like that. I can't even have a housewarming because don't nobody want to do the fucking work to get us to where we need to be. So, yeah, man, that has been the news. But y'all know what time it is.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? This nigga just say blue blazes.
All right, it's Blue Blazes time here at the Spirit Poor Podcast. And our first story here in Blue Blazes has to do with motherfucking Amazon Alexa. So apparently, the Amazon Alexa has gotten so fucking smart that it can just decide when it want to turn off your damn lights, man.
God damn!
Yeah, man, we get the story here. This comes out of TheVerge.com. It says Amazon is enabling a new feature today that allows Alexa to proactively complete tasks around the house, such as turning off lights based on your habits and frequent requests. Alexa has been able to sense these habits and acts about them since 2018. The company calls them hunches. But before this update, Alexa would ask permission before acting on something like lowering the thermostat before you went to bed. If the new proactive hunches are enabled, if the new proactive hunches are enabled, though, Alexa will skip asking for permission for a task and just do it. Nah, bruh. Nah, man. This is while proactive hunches seem like they can make Alexa a lot more useful, having granular controls over what Alexa can automatically act on will be important. Amazon says these automatic actions have to be turned on from the Alexa app, and that you can toggle automatic actions on and off for each compatible product that Alexa has a hunch about. Nah, fuck that, bruh. Fuck that, bro. They ain't seen Terminator, nigga. They ain't seen the Terminator films, bruh. When motherfucking Skynet became self-aware, nigga, and just like waged war against humanity, my nigga. Like, come on, man. We seen whole ass movies about this sort of shit. I don't know, bro. And I say this as a nigga who is going all in on the smart home shit, bro. All in. I got a smart thermostat. I got these little smart speakers all around the crib, bro. I got like, my fucking cell phone, bro. Like this is, I mean, when I went and got some highfalutin shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it'll tell, like, here's how crazy it's gotten with how much the technology is ingrained itself in our lives, right? And I was having a conversation with some of my folks over at Olive Harvey Middle College, man, and we were talking. As a matter of fact, I think Jonathan was in that chat. I might have been talking to him, and was talking about like how much the technology has ingrained itself into our everyday lives, man. But like, here's the other part why I always thought, like, when people were talking about they was going to insert the chip in you for the COVID-19 vaccine, it's like, nigga, they don't need to. You walking around with a fucking cell phone. That's your tracking device. Like, your cell phone knows where you work. It knows how long it's going to take you to get to work from your house, because guess what? Your cell phone knows where your house is too. Your cell phone knows what websites you watch or what websites you go to. Your cell phone knows the things you like to watch. It knows the things that you like to buy. Your cell phone, these social media companies, all it, they know so much more about you. They probably know you better than you probably know yourself. It's part of the reason why like these algorithms can see you targeted ads on your Facebook, and like you be like, damn, I was just talking about getting one of these, and I'll be goddamn, this shit ain't on my phone right now. Like, I'll be damn, like they serving you up, baby. And on top of it, a lot of these services are free, and because a lot of these services are free, guess what? Your data is the product. They selling your information to these advertisers, and these advertisers are targeting you with shit that they know you want because you said this shit. You look for this shit, right? That's how it works. They don't have to inject you with the shit. You're walking around with it willingly in your pocket. Some of us have like kind of given up, and I've talked about this, man. Like I had to come to what I consider like you have to weigh the convenience, how much the convenience means to you in relative to like your level of privacy. How much of your level of privacy are you willing to give up? And like, truthfully speaking, like all of those things are like listening to you all the time. Like they're listening to, like for instance, like I got this Google Home speaker sitting right here, and I got this Android phone sitting right here. They're both waiting for me to say the hot word for it to like, answer a question for me. And same thing with Alexa. But here's the thing, like Alexa is talking about like, yo, man, we just gonna go ahead and do it. I don't even need your input no more. That's how smart it's fucking gotten. It's tracked you to the point where like, man, this nigga ain't in this room no more. Let me go ahead and shut off these lights. Right? Like even my thermostat, I just put a Nest thermostat in on my house. And a Nest thermostat is supposed to learn when I'm home. So like if I'm not home, it turns the heat down. It's like, well, ain't nobody here. We're going to turn this down. Or when I'm sleeping, it's supposed to know the hours that I'm sleeping. So it'll turn the heat to a certain time, a certain temperature that I've deemed comfortable to sleep. Like they know so much, right? It's kind of crazy how much this shit knows, right? Which is again why I said they don't need to put that fucking chip in you, baby. You walk around with it every fucking day. It's in like we do our banking on it, like we pay our bills on it, like everything is happening right here on these devices, man. Right here on these devices. It's crazy. It's crazy, but like I don't know if I want the Alexa to just be like, and I don't have Alexa in my house. It's more I'm a Google Assistant kind of guy, but yeah, man, same thing with them too. Like I don't know if I necessarily want the automatic shit. I had some routines set up, and then I said, nah, fuck that. I got rid of the routines. But yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazers. They ain't got no. They said, fuck, we don't even need your input no more, nigga. We got it from here. We got it from here, man. So yeah, Jonathan's in the chat room. He says your cell phone and debit cards got you. No need for a chip. There it is. I mean, there's a chip on your cell phone. I mean, on your cards now. They getting rid of the magnetic strips. As soon as they can get rid of those magnetic strips, you go with those chips on the cards. But yeah, man, they don't need to inject you with nothing with the vaccine, bro. I don't even know why people still thinking that shit. But yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazers. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazers is apparently for all of you who go to Subway, who like Subway, who enjoy Subway's tuna sub sandwiches. Apparently, you niggas ain't been eating tuna at all.
Got him! Got him!
Yeah, man. So we get this story here. This comes out of CBSnews.com. It says there's something fishy about Subway's tuna salad sandwiches and wraps, but the menu items don't happen to include any actual fish, according to a lawsuit filed against the fast food chain. What Subway bills as tuna is a mixture of various concoctions that do not constitute tuna, yet have been blended together by defendants to imitate the appearance of tuna, according to the complaint.
Big Mama, your arm.
Man, listen. So I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. I don't really like Subway. I'm a Potbellies kind of guy. Give me the meats, man. I like Potbellies, man. Give me a wreck. You know what I'm saying? With extra, a wreck with extra turkey, or an Italian with extra capicola. You know what I'm saying? I fucks with Potbellies. And here's the other part about Subway. Whether it be they chicken or they beef or the seafood sensation sandwich that I know ain't real crab, but I mean, you know, put some mayo on this shit, it'll cover it up. Right? But like, yo, all of this shit tastes funny. Like, it's something about Subway. None of this shit tastes right to me. Like, it's always had like some sort of off sort of flavoring to it. I don't know what it is exactly. So the idea that Subway, who was selling footlongs, I remember people were suing them because they were selling footlongs that weren't exactly footlongs. They were like 10 and a half inches or some shit. Niggas got mad. Like, nigga, I want my other inch and a half, you know? But like, they are not selling you tuna. It's like some made up shit. Like it's almost like the bologna. These motherfuckers then came out with seafood bologna, bro. Like, how you have a seafood bologna sandwich from the Subway? And the thing about Subway is that they've been like kind of marketing themselves as a healthy alternative to some of the other things that you could be eating, which by and large, it could be true. Like, I don't know how healthy they shit really is, especially with the way I get sandwiches made. Like, my wife would tell you, like, even with salads, like, you know, by the time I get putting all the dressing on it, I've pretty much like voided out all of the health benefits of my salad because I done put all the salad dressing on it. But like, it's something about Subway, bro. Like, I ain't trusted it for quite some time, man. I ain't trusted it for quite some time. And the fact that they selling y'all tuna sandwiches that ain't really tuna, like, what is it then? Like, what is, because like I know they like make I forget what they call like the fake crab and shit, but it's damn close to the crab meat. I ain't gonna front, that should be good. But what is like fake tuna? What can they like serve as like fake tuna? You know, if y'all in the chat room, y'all know. He said them veg Aaron in the chat room, he said them veggies be looking old as fuck. Bruh. I don't trust it, man. I don't trust it. Like, I'll go to Jimmy John's before I go to Subway. Jimmy John's, I'll put their damn Italian in the microwave so fast. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Like, I don't know, man. I'm still tripping off. I'm trying to figure out, like, so is it like real chick? Like, do they substitute the tuna for chicken of the sea? Like, no, but like with real chicken, like they cut it up so fine you can't tell the difference, and then they put like some food coloring on it. Like, I don't know, man. Somebody help me. Somebody help me with that one. But yeah, no tuna in the Subway sandwiches, man. Real talk. That's crazy. Another story that we got here. Jack's in the chat room. He says this shit's grounded up chicken meat and fish oil. Dead ass, bro. Dead ass. It probably is. I'm not even mad. We on the same page, bro. I'm picking up what you're putting down. We on the same page, man. Real talk. But yo, another story that we got here in the Blue Blazers. I saw this story. I thought it was kind of odd when I first saw it, because every now and again, your man Spann will catch clips of The View, you know, because The View come on when your man Spann at work. I don't get a chance to like sit down and watch it, but I listen to the ladies. You know, they have the hot topics and shit. And a lot of times they're talking about the shit that I'm interested in. They're talking about the politics and the pop culture and the news and whatever. And so I listen to their perspectives and whatnot. I'm not a real big fan of Meghan McCain. I think Meghan McCain is like, you know, an entitled brat, and it comes across very well on that show. But yo, man, Whoopi Goldberg was on like kind of trending a little bit on the social media. And it was because she decided that she was going to wear a sweater that just so happened to be a Masonic sweater, a Prince Hall Masonic sweater at that. All right, we get this story here. This comes from oknews.com. Excuse me. OK Magazine, I'm sorry. And apparently this is Whoopi Goldberg has apologized to fans after sporting a Prince Hall Masonic sweater on Tuesday. Now they got a link to this. Hold on, they got a link here. Do they have a picture of it? Okay, yeah, they do have a picture of it. So let me go ahead and pull this up here in the chat so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Hold on just a second. All right, where is it? Here we go. Whoops, not the right one. There we go. There we go. You got the square and the compasses right there. Prince Hall, right? So Whoopi Goldberg wore this sweater while they were doing the View. I believe this was 4 days ago, so it was at Tuesday. And so yeah, she wore this sweater. And when I saw the clip, I'm thinking, I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this, right? Because your man Spann is a brother. I've been a brother for quite some time, man. I mean, I haven't been a real active brother, but yo, man, I'm a brother. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is that? Right? And so let me go ahead and pull this down. But yo, so they so she was wearing this, and I asked the question. I'm like, yo, I put it on the social media. I'm like, yo, man, what the fuck is Whoopi doing? Why Whoopi got that on? Like, am I seeing what the fuck I think I'm seeing right now? And one of the stories that people were kind of like forwarding around, there was this one dude on Twitter who said that Whoopi Goldberg's brother was a Prince Hall Mason, and that her brother had recently passed away, and that she asked his lodge whether or not it would be okay for her to wear the sweater, and his lodge gave her the permission to wear the sweater, and that she wore it in tribute to him because he had recently passed away, right? And I saw that story and I was like, okay. Somebody told me this. I'm like, okay. I mean, I still wasn't feeling it, but all right, death of a loved one, close one, just another. His lodge, apparently his lodge doesn't have a problem with it. I think it's fucked up that they would, okay that, but whatever. And, you got other people who are also a part of the order who would say, well, it brought positive publicity to the organization. I'm thinking, well, I mean, I don't know how positive the publicity would have been. I mean, she just wore a sweater that to a lot of folks is pretty obscure. Unless you know what you're looking for, is pretty obscure. Don't nobody know what the hell she was doing by wearing the sweater, right? It didn't bring any like sort of like positive anything. It was just like, yo, she's wearing this sweater. Now people are just kind of curious as to what it is, right? It was a whole lot of sisters, whole lot of Eastern Stars who's in their feelings about it, like, because they're like, I'm a part of the order, and I can't wear that, and how dare you wear that? It's much more. It means a lot to the people who've earned the right to wear that. It means a lot, and so for you to just like kind of wear it as a fashion accessory kind of rubs people the wrong way, right? Well, what we found out was the story about Whoopi's brother was kind of some bullshit, because she basically just said like, yo, she bought the damn sweater because she thought it was cool and she saw it on the internet, man.
And that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, so like I said, we're going to continue to read from OK Magazine. It says, during Wednesday's live taping, the 65-year-old actress addressed the outrage she had caused on social media, saying, before we get into the show, let me apologize. Yesterday, I wore a sweater that apparently upset a lot of people. That was not my intention. I simply bought a sweater from the internet and I will never wear it again. And that is all I can say. I still don't know what the connotations are or why people are upset, but I'm not going to wear it again. Okay, that's it. Viewers of the Emmy-winning talk show were quick to voice their opinions on Twitter last night, claiming that Goldberg was being insensitive for wearing a sweater that resembled the Freemasons' attire. Let's see, Whoopi Goldberg, no disrespect or anything, but if you're not a Mason or of the Masonic order, you can't wear that jacket. It's disrespect to the lodge. Me, as an order of the Eastern Star, can't even wear it, and I'm a part of the lodge. No shade, just being respectful. Let's see, another chimed in, like, why is Whoopi Goldberg wearing a Prince Hall Masonic sweater on The View? So disrespectful. She should do some research before just putting anything on and comes on national television. Other viewers said they felt proud that Goldberg wore the sweater and thanked her for promoting the Prince Hall affiliation Masons on national television. So yeah, man, I'm not. I thought it was odd, right? I thought it was odd. I'm like, why is she wearing that? I'm just, why? What was the purpose of that? And then, like I said, I got the story that like, yo, it was her brother. She donated money. They said it was okay. And then kind of found out ain't none of that shit true. She just wore it because she thought it was cool. I mean, we are cool, but you ain't supposed to be wearing that, sister. Come on, man. Do better. Be better. We all need to be better. So yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazes. Another story that was kind of in Blue Blazes. I ain't got no article for this shit, but it was something I kind of noticed this week, man. Everybody been talking about GameStop. Everybody's been talking about GameStop this week, man, and stocks and stuff like that. First things first, when I started seeing everybody and their mama talking about GameStops and Robinhood and all this other shit, first thing that I was thinking about, first of all, I didn't know I knew so many Jordan Belforts and Warren Buffetts, bro. I didn't know all of y'all was into the stock market like that. Real talk. I didn't know I knew so many fucking investors, bro. But apparently everybody was an investor. Everybody started hopping on this GameStop, stock or whatever. And, eventually I got, kind of wind of, okay, it was some shit that started on Reddit and they wanted to get back at some hedge funds. And so because the hedge funds were pretty much shorting the GameStop stock and betting against it, they just start buying that shit up, right? Here's the thing. The bubble will burst. So I just hope for those of you who are kind of got into it late, you know what I'm saying? Like buying $350 GameStop stock right now probably ain't the best move. You know what I'm saying? Probably ain't the best move unless you can get, unless they could get that shit to like maybe $500-$600. I don't know if it's gonna get that high, but if you got in when the shit was like $13, $28, I mean, okay, so you made you some bread. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations. And I'm not knocking anybody for getting into the stock market. That was the other part about it. I was asking like, yo, all of y'all all at the same time on like when, like how, like I know y'all for years. I ain't never known y'all to talk about this shit. So it was more so like a surprise thing than anything else that it caught on with so many people. All of a sudden, everybody and their mama was on like, yo, I'm about, Robin Hood on some bullshit, bruh. They trying to stop the little guy from turning over the big guy, man. That was the other thing too, man. I'm gonna tell y'all this right now, man. The little guy ain't the ones who was like moving the stock in the ways in which GameStop stock has been moving this week. That just ain't the reality of the situation, man. I know some of y'all might have bought in a little bit. Some of y'all might have even spent some of y'all might have spent $500-$600. But y'all ain't moving the stock in the ways in which y'all thought y'all was moving the stock. Many of the people who are like moving that stock been putting up some hard cash, like thousands of dollars to move that stock in that way. Right? I don't know if it's not necessarily like the little guy fighting against the big guy. It's actually some big guys fighting against some bigger guys. But the narrative the narrative of that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't bring the same attention, right? It doesn't bring the same attention. So if you can make it look like a David versus Goliath sort of story, then yeah, man, that should have played well in the media. But real talk, I kind of believe that it's some big guys playing against some even bigger guys, and like some bigger guys took some hellified losses. But man, if you're getting into investing, I think it's, if you go into it, if you're getting into it and you're smart about it, you get into some of these groups that you can actually learn from people who are experts at the stock market, who have been doing this for some time, man. You can learn some techniques, man. I don't have any motherfucking qualms against that whatsoever, because I dibble and dabble in this shit, man. I bought like $500 in Dogecoin like 5 months ago, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now, bro, I appreciate y'all. Like, I fucking appreciate y'all for jumping on the Dogecoin now, baby. Like, thank you. Thank you so much. But yo, man, that's been Blue Blazes, y'all.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
All right, but we're gonna do something that we haven't done in a little while, and this is actually the first time we're gonna do it for the 2021. It's time for In the Black Community, pseudo-consciously based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Yonk right, the dedicated misogynists who perpetuate frauds are members of an elite squad known as a Special Hotep Unit. These are their stories. All right, so it's Special Hotep Unit time here at the Spann podcast. And what we're going to talk about briefly is ADOS. Right? ADOS. This is something that I've talked about here on the show a few times over the course of the last few years, man, as we talked about some of the things that were happening in some of the political things that were happening on social media. And ADOS kind of like popped up as I want to say it happened like after 2016 when ADOS kind of really became a thing. They start talking about being American descendants of slaves and using that in order to get reparations for Black people who were, of course, American descendants of slaves. And one of the things that I've been saying from the very beginning was I thought this was a disinformation, misinformation sort of campaign, and that it was being used to divide up the Black community so that we don't vote in the same sort of blocks that other communities vote in, right? Like white people don't get shamed for voting like Republican. Like they vote Republican because it's like a course of action. Like it's almost expected of them, right? If they vote Democrat, they're like, man, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, even though the fact that most people are Democratic, like most of them, like, y'all know what I mean. But no, ADOS, man, like I've been telling people who listen to this show, who've been watching me on social media, like I've always thought that, like, although it started with Black people here in America, that movement had sort of been co-opted by propagandists in order to use it for their own means, right? And so one of the things about these social media movements is that you always have to be cognizant of the fact that the movements can be co-opted and the messaging can be misconstrued, or the messaging can be redirected to other things, right? And so one of the things I started noticing was the people who were promoting ADOS and the people who were promoting like this foundational Black America shit, like they start splintering off into like even the splinter groups were splintering off into other splinter groups, right? And so you start noticing like, people like Tariq Nasheed, who were from, the Art of Mackin and like, the Mac Lessons radio show, to fucking now he's a foundational Black American and he's got the Melanoid Nation, and suddenly like he's a historian and y'all buying Hidden Colors up, and from you buying like a documentary on Black history from dude who called himself at one point a pimp. Like, and I'm not talking about people can't grow and stuff like that. Trust and believe, I believe, but also like I just like when you watched sort of how it happens, you're like, all right, I don't know if I believe wholeheartedly in man's sincerity when it comes to this, right? So you start watching like not only the hashtag, but you start also watching who the people who promote a certain ideology, who those people start attacking, right? And I started noticing that the people that they would attack, by and large, were folks of the Democratic Party. What was that? Kamala Harris caught hell from the ADOS community. Caught hell to the point where Kamala Harris had her Blackness questioned, despite the fact that her daddy's Jamaican. Yeah, her mom's from India, but her daddy's Jamaican. She goes to an HBCU in Howard University. She pledges a Black sorority in Alpha Kappa Alpha, right? She had her Blackness questioned. Suddenly, like all of a sudden, we are supposed to believe that Kamala Harris is a Black man hating, Black man locking up Terminator, and she shouldn't have any fucking chance at all with the Black community when it comes to voting for her for president of the United States. And to a large degree, it worked. It worked. So much misinformation and disinformation had been disseminated to the point where you didn't know if you were sharing something that was legitimate or something that was bullshit, right? I'll give you a perfect example. This happened with me on Twitter a couple weeks ago. There was a sister who was tweeting about Kamala Harris, and she spoke about there was a defense spending bill that had just happened. And the Democrats had largely been telling folks that they were going to vote against this defense spending bill. And this sister uses as an opportunity to say that because Kamala Harris voted against this defense spending bill, that people would not be getting COVID-19 stimulus checks, right? And she used two screenshots. One was a screenshot that showed that Kamala Harris voted in the nay for like she wasn't for the bill. And the other was from like an article that was like suppositioning what that vote meant, right? Didn't give me the source for where that article came from. Didn't really give me the source from the voting. I had to go like search that shit up, right? But when I asked the sister for the when I asked her for the sourcing of where she got it, suddenly she's attacking me. She's like, well, you know, black men questioning me on Twitter. Y'all don't fact check nobody, but y'all gonna fact check a black woman. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute. I'm asking you for the sourcing on a negative slant that you're taking against another black woman, and you're questioning whether or not I defend black women. Like, you know, that's a whole other thing in and of itself, right? But the misinformation and how easy it was to disseminate, because there was a lot of people who were like, man, what else would you expect from Kamala Harris, right? They believed all of this negative shit that was being said about this woman. It had become almost factual to a lot of them because, again, it had become so commonplace in the Twitter sphere, in the social media sphere, to like just kind of disseminate this bad information, right? Some people were disseminating bad information not knowing that that's what they were doing. Then you had active participants who knew exactly what the fuck they were doing. And so this ADOS thing just kind of like became this amorphous thing that I believe to a large degree Russian hackers also had some influence in, because again, it's online. You can't bet a lot of these people. They could, a lot of times you look up and it's an avatar, or it's like a picture of it's a stock photo of a model or some shit like that. And all they have to do is sit around, watch black people talk, and try to mimic the vernacular of black people on social media. You don't know that you're talking to a black person on the other side of that keyboard. You don't know it. There were so many different websites that we found out later, so many different social media accounts that we found out later weren't being like, you know, Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. That weren't actually being helmed by anybody associated with Black Lives Matter whatsoever, right? So the idea that ADOS couldn't be used as a disinformation campaign because it was started by two black people here in America is a false premise. Yeah, they may have started it and they may have had good intentions when they started it. But what it ultimately became was something entirely different, right? And so I say this because, you know, I was listening to something about QAnon earlier today. I was in my car and I was listening to it. And one of the things I always thinking about was like when we talk about how crazy a lot of Trump supporters sound to us, right? Some of the things that they talk about, like some of the policies that they support, some of the candidates that they support and promote, how crazy they sound to us, how far-fetched and how detached from reality we feel like they are. Like these motherfuckers are living in a parallel universe. You know what I'm saying? A parallel dimension, so to speak. And we listen to them and we're like, man, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Right? And some of the times, the same people who are leveling those levels of criticisms towards the Trump supporters, guess what? Some of us are also susceptible to some of this bullshit narrative too, right? Where we're promoting the 5G conspiracy on COVID-19 vaccines, where we're talking about them, you know, forcing the vaccine on everybody, right? Well, we start doing that sort of you know, promotion of misinformation and disinformation. And like I said, sometimes we're doing this not knowing that what we're passing around is bad information. And the other part about it is like there's nothing wrong in admitting that you don't know, right? There's nothing wrong in admitting that you don't know. It's not a weakness to not know something. It's a weakness to like be willful in your ignorance. That's a weakness where you don't even try to understand what it is that you're disseminating or you're talking about, like not even try to understand it, but you're going to keep pumping out that information. That's a weakness. But to act, to not know isn't a weakness. I just want us to be more cognizant of some of the messages that come across our screens every day. Like not being so quick to share the shit because we agree with it because it looked cool on the meme, right? And then you look at the source for the meme, and then you go to the website, and a lot of folks don't really do all of that shit because they already agree with what the meme says, despite the fact that what the meme says might not be absolute. It might be absolute bullshit. But the quick dissemination of bad information in an information age is so prevalent, folks have a hard time distinguishing it from the real, like distinguishing the real shit from the bullshit. And so with ADOS, I saw how it was being used to promote shit against black folks. Like suddenly ADOS really fucks with Donald Trump, right? Suddenly, like the people who were promoting ADOS got American flags all over their avatar, like all over their profiles and shit. Like, man, when did niggas start doing that? When we start like really fucking with the flag like that, right? When did we ever start doing that? So I just want us to, I want us to be cognizant of that. And not only that, I say all this to say that, like, yo, I've been saying this shit for months. Harvard University did a peer review study pretty much confirming shit that I've been saying, right? So we get this from that Harvard peer review study. And it's basically, here's a bit of an excerpt from it. It says, ADOS has been reported on and in mainstream outlets, and its rhetoric and internal dynamics have been analyzed and critiqued with the larger Black cultural conversation from various Pan-Africanist and perspectives. Here we focus on the implications of ADOS messaging for civic participation and voting in terms of what we call disinformation creep, a phenomenon in which legitimate positions and information are slightly distorted and reinterpreted to leverage a separate position entirely, one that may even be at odds with the interests and the purpose that it supports. We theorize that this is a general phenomenon, but one particularly effective at targeting marginalized groups whose systemic neglect by mainstream media and political parties creates openings for alternative narratives. Like, when you know that they're using your anger against you to promote things that are actually counterproductive to what it is that you're trying to do, man, it could be infuriating. And the other part about it is, folks don't want to ever admit that they were duped. There's a certain shame that people have for that. Whether it's, whether you should be ashamed of it or not, like, you've been got. All of us have been gotten at some point. Like, you could have your antennas up. You could be a smart motherfucker. You could be a brilliant motherfucker. Somebody else, like, in a certain way, could be a little bit more brilliant than you and get you to do some shit that you really didn't want to do. That's just the nature of the world. But yeah, man, I like the fact that like Harvard had to do a fucking peer review study and it pretty much said, what your man Spann been saying? I mean, if you listen to your man Spann, I ain't gonna steer you wrong. But yeah, man, they've already been saying, they pretty much confirmed it. It's like a whole lot of niggas talked into staying home. yeah. And why are you talking about, like Aaron Brown's talking about, got talking to staying home? Like, they were pretty much trying to use apathy, right? They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to vote. Now think about why they don't want you to vote. Think about all of the apparatuses that they use to try to get you to not vote. And then you got ADOS promoting the fact that, like, we don't want to vote for none of these motherfuckers. Why wouldn't we want to vote for any of them, ADOS? What does it serve us to not be engaged in this in the political realm? What does it serve us to not be engaged at all? What do we as a community get for not being engaged in the system that right now is what we got? What do we get out of that? It will make us serve against our own purposes. So, like, right now, you tell, like, ADOS is like, yo, man, we don't want y'all to vote. But then you also got Republicans in Florida trying to take away the reinstated franchise rights of former felons by making them pay restitution and fines before they would regain their right to vote, essentially installing a poll tax. Where you've got in Georgia, where they had an exact match. I think it was like for your signature. Your signature had to match the signature on the application in order for them to count your ballot. Yeah, that shit. You got Republicans coming up with fake fake ballot drop-off boxes so that your votes don't count when it actually gets, when it's time to count those election, count those election results, count those ballots. You've got people being purged from voting rolls so that you can't vote anyway. Like that was happening in Georgia too. So like when they're doing all of that to keep you out of that polling place, and then you've got ADOS telling you, well, you shouldn't want to vote no way. Come on, man. Pay attention. Pay attention. So yeah, man. That's been Special Hotep Unit, y'all. Uh-oh. In the Black community, pseudo-consciously based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Yonk right, the dedicated misogynists who perpetuate frauds are members of an elite squad known as a Special Hotep Unit. These are their stories. Yeah, but y'all know what time it is. That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Yeah, that's enough of that shit. It's proud to be an American time here at the Spann Podcast. And our first story here, proud to be an American, has to do with them goddamn Republicans, man. They back on their shit, man. As a matter of fact, them Republicans, they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. Yeah, pretty much. So we get this first story here. This comes out of, hold on a second. This comes out of the New York Times. It says Republicans rally against impeachment trial, signaling that they will likely acquit Donald Trump in that trial, man.
Who gives a fuck with Ja Rule?
Whoops.
God damn!
Yeah, man. So let's get into some of the story here with the New York Times. It says all but 5 Republican senators voted to challenge the constitutionality of the trial, suggesting that Democrats are unlikely to find the 17 they would need to join them in convicting the former president. Senate Republicans rallied on Tuesday against trying former President Donald J. Trump for incitement of insurrection at the Capitol, with only 5 members of his party joining Democrats in a vote to go forward with his impeachment trial. By a vote of 55 to 45, the Senate narrowly killed a Republican effort to dismiss the proceedings as unconstitutional because Mr. Trump is no longer in office. But the numbers showed that loyal Republicans were again poised to spare him from conviction. This time, despite his role in stirring up a mob that violently targeted lawmakers and the vice president on January 6th as Congress met to finalize the election. Now, I want y'all to think about this for a second. After that whole insurrection shit happened at the Capitol, where we watched thousands of Trump supporters climb, the walls where they were steps 20 feet a fucking way, where we watched them beat the shit out of police officers after for so long proclaiming that they backed the blue for killing a police officer. One police officer got his ass whooped so much, like they beat him with a fucking fire extinguisher, and he passed away from his injuries. We watched all that happen in real time. We also watched Republican senators and Congress people condemn the actions of Donald Trump in that moment. We saw Lindsey Graham talk about how much he was out of it. Like, Donald Trump's responsible, and I can't be a part of this any longer. And Mitch McConnell got up there and he said, like, these people were fed a lie, and as a result, they came to the Capitol, and as part of the big lie, like you saw Republicans talking cash shit about Donald Trump when this happened. And I've always been skeptical of it, right? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't trust these motherfuckers. I just don't. I don't trust them. We've seen them talk out of both sides of their neck for the last 5 years. So why would I believe anything that came out of their mouth now? Right? And one of the things at first they were talking about, well, we should probably delay the trial, right? We should probably delay the trial because, we got a new president coming in, and, we should want to get his agenda started, this, that, and the other. And, we should push the trial back, right? So Republicans and, the Democrats, they like, well, all right, y'all are right. We do got Joe Biden coming in, and we do need to get his cabinet confirmed, and we should probably handle the business of that. So, yeah, we'll put it off for a couple of weeks. Yeah, we'll do that. And now Republicans are like, well, that whole thing about impeachment, though, he's a private citizen now. The whole thing about impeachment is to get rid of him. But we're already rid of him. He's a private citizen. So should we really be doing this impeachment shit? And it's really just like,
got him. Got him.
so much so, man, that like you started seeing Democrats start floating about this idea of censure, right? Or we start hearing more and more about censuring Donald Trump this week. And I'm just like, wait a minute. So y'all just want to write a strongly worded fucking letter for what happened? For what he was like, for what he pretty much facilitated? Like he brought those people there. A lot of these motherfuckers going to court right now. They didn't get the pardon that they thought they was going to get from Trump. So what are they doing now? They go into court and they're like, yo, man, but the president told me to come. I thought Donald Trump was my commander in chief and we were following orders. Now, that's not a real good defense, but they damn sure trying it. Right? And so for these Republicans now to be like, yo, yeah, we don't really think that it's, you know, it's kind of petty. It's kind of petty of the Democrats to want to go ahead and do an impeachment. You know, it's like really unconstitutional, really, if you think about it. They should really want to get over this. You know, we can't move this country forward if we keep looking back. And it's just like, yo, man,
they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
They are who we thought they were, bruh. Nothing about these motherfuckers surprises me. Like you don't pet the motherfucking snake, man. Like that's just not what you do. I know some of y'all got pet snakes and shit. Like I ain't petting that motherfucker either. Like he don't feel none of that shit no way. He don't have no love for you. You just like you think he make you look cool. That snake don't give a fuck about you. It's pretty much how the Republicans operate. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about what you want. They don't fuck what they're supposed to represent. They don't give a damn, bruh. They don't care. And they will, like, think about this. Fucking Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was one of the main people who went up on that Senate floor and voted to challenge the election results, the certification of the election results. Donald Trump called his wife ugly, bruh. Like, straight up came after that man's wife. Talked cash shit about his wife. Told everybody that his daddy was fucking involved in the Kennedy assassination. There's no amount of fucking money, no amount of fucking privilege, no amount of fucking pride, and none of that would get me to openly and like publicly fillet a motherfucker who just disrespected my wife and my pops if I gave a damn about pops. Right? No motherfucking none of that. But he was one of the main people up there telling folks like, yeah, this election was stolen from them. Now, here's the other part about this, too. Here's the other part about this. So I had a conversation with a relative of mine who I found out was a Trump supporter. Sad motherfucking day, man. I like this relative. You know, I don't know if I can really fuck with them no more. That's just what it is. You know, especially in these days and times. It's just kind of what it is. Kind of sad day to find out that you like, man, I didn't see this coming from you, right? But one of the things that he did was he started equating the Capitol riots with the Black Lives Matter demonstrations that were happening all across the country this past summer. And what it really spoke to me about when he did that was how far we've gone when we do the both sides shit. This both sides thing. And we've both sided and false equivocated shit so much to where now people who don't have a fucking leg to stand on believe that they're having a conversation of equal merit. And we're not. We're not. And it's allowed for the most ridiculous fucking premises. It's allowed for the most the most outrageous fucking talking points to stand as if this is like we're having a real conversation. These are people that we used to like ignore. These are people that we rightfully just like, man, that motherfucker is crazy and I ain't listening to shit he got to say. But now we've empowered these people so much to where they're holding elected office. Right? Who will openly gaslight you, who will openly be like say one thing and do something totally opposite of what they said that they were going to do. And when I talk about Republicans, being who we thought they were. Like they show us this time and time again. It's like Republicans are loosey with the football, and Democrats keep fucking around, like really wanting to believe the good in them, and really wanting to come off as, really wanting to be like, we want to reach out in a bipartisan fashion and get things done in a bipartisan way. Like that day is dead right now. Like those ain't the same Republicans you grew up with. They just not. They are gone. What's my man name? John McCain was their standard bearer in 2008. These people despise John McCain now. This is how wild shit has gotten to where like Donald Trump was so bad that people look fondly of the days of George W. Bush. And for those of us who remember George W. Bush, y'all remember Katrina. Y'all remember Kanye West when he used to be Kanye West talking about George Bush doesn't care about black people? We remember that. We remember getting into the motherfucking Iraq war for 9/11, despite the fact that nobody from Iraq actually had anything to do with 9/11 whatsoever. So we sending folks off to die for some bullshit, some made up bullshit, right? But we look at, George W. Bush now, well, he couldn't have been that. That's how bad Trump was, and we only had 4 years of him. Could you imagine if we had gotten another 4? We probably wouldn't have been stuck with him for another 4. It'd probably been like, because they were already gaming for this not to be just the like 8 years. They were gaming for it. So I say all that to say that the fact that these Republicans flipped and said like, well, you know what, this impeachment trial stuff you guys are trying to do, let's just move on. Let's heal as a country, and let's not hold anybody accountable for shit, despite the fact that somebody like the cops lost their life. I thought y'all love the cops. I thought y'all backed the blue. I thought y'all was all about that thin blue line. Y'all, I see that flag all the fucking time. The United States flag in black, white, and blue. And, I see that shit and just like, man, fuck you. Anytime I see that flag, I hate that shit. It's gotten to a point where like the sight of the American flag, I'm automatically like, man, they on some bullshit. Like that's how bad it's gotten. To where my job gives me a hoodie with like eagles and flags, and I'm like, I'm not wearing that shit. Right? So yeah, man. The Republicans, they did what Republicans do. Why the hell is this on my damn screen? Let me go ahead and close that. Aaron's like, you got a soul, Spann. Yeah, man. I try. They try to make it hard for a motherfucker to have one nowadays, bro. But yo, man, that's proud to be an American. Another story that we got here in Proud to be an American about these fuck ass Republicans is that the Republicans in the House of Representatives in the state of Michigan right now are threatened to hold back school aid unless the Democratic governor, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, gives up some of her COVID powers, some of her gubernatorial powers concerning COVID-19, man. All right, so we get this story here. This comes out of WXYZ.com. So there may be video attached to this. Let me see if I can. Is there video attached to this? No, there isn't. All right, so we read the story. This comes out of Channel 7 here in Detroit. And it says Michigan House Republicans on Wednesday proposed a $3.5 billion coronavirus recovery plan, but threatened to withhold billions to K-12 schools unless Governor Gretchen Whitmer cedes her administration's power to prohibit in-person instruction in sports to local health departments. The state health department in November ordered a temporary ban on face-to-face learning in high schools to help curb the surge of COVID-19 cases, lifting it later. A prohibition on youth contact sports remains. Some Michigan high schools districts haven't had in-person classes since March. That's hurting kids in ways we can't even imagine. And not just academically. House Appropriations Committee Chairman Thomas Albert, a Lowell Republican, said in a statement, the disruption of sports and other extracurricular activities also takes a major toll. By law, K-12 districts and charter schools decide whether to allow in-person classes. Although the Democratic governor has strongly urged schools to offer face-to-face learning options by March 1st, House Republicans want to entice public schools by offering up to $250 per student in funding if they commit to reopening by February 15th. The proposal came a week after Whitmer sent the Republican legislature a $5.6 billion relief plan that she used recently that would use recently enacted federal aid and state funds. She planned to highlight her proposal in her annual State of the State address Wednesday night. The dueling plans have similarities, including another round of grants to help restaurants and other businesses devastated by the pandemic and related virus restrictions. So the fact that Republicans would use public school funding as a wedge issue to get what they want out of a Democratic governor. So, like, we're not going to give these schools this money if Governor Whitmer doesn't give up her powers in this matter. Now, think about what that means for a minute, right? I was having a conversation in my Olive Harvey Middle College group earlier today. I was kind of going back into some of the history of some of the fucked up shit Republicans have done here in this state of Michigan, and going all the way back to Governor Rick Snyder. When Governor Rick Snyder was, here, they enacted the emergency manager law, which allowed for the for the governor to appoint an emergency manager in municipalities, that they deemed were in need of management, right? And what the emergency manager was allowed to do was basically dictate to these municipalities what they would be doing, like, period. So if your teachers had a contract coming up that they needed to negotiate, the teachers union needed to negotiate, no, the emergency manager would essentially just say, no, we're not doing that. This is what y'all going to be working for. Take it or leave it. There was no collective bargaining with the unions. If you had issues with trash pickup in your neighborhood, like they wouldn't pick up all of the trash, and you would go to your city council to complain, well, you were pretty much going to your city council for nothing because the city council didn't have the power to do anything. You had to go to the emergency manager. Now, the emergency manager wasn't accountable to you, right? You didn't vote for him. Wasn't accountable to you. The emergency manager was accountable to the person who appointed him, which was the governor of the state of Michigan, who at the time was Governor Rick Snyder. Now, many of the cities that were put under emergency management, by and large, were cities that had large populations of people of color. Detroit fell under emergency management before the bankruptcy. Flint fell into emergency management. As a matter of fact, it was an emergency manager who dictated that the Flint water system, water be switched from the Detroit water system to the Flint River, which caused the poisoning of thousands of people in that city. Many of those marginalized groups, kids who will be affected by lead poisoning the rest of their fucking lives. Right? That came down because of emergency management. Now, here in Michigan, we had ballot initiatives. As a matter of fact, we voted to take the emergency manager law and do away with it, make it null and void. What did the Republican legislature do? The Republican legislature just rewrote the law and reinstituted it. Right? So now we have a Democratic governor. We haven't been seeing, emergency management's been dictated on any of these municipalities since we've had Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We also kind of changed the ways in which Michigan draws up its congressional districts. So we have an independent commission now that comes up with those districts, as opposed to the party in power being able to choose and gerrymander these districts. So where they gerrymander it to a point where the legislators are picking their voters, not the other way around, where the voters are picking their legislators. So when the legislators aren't accountable to you, they do whatever the fuck they want to do. And by and large, Republicans have been operating in this way for quite some time, to the point where they operate in a way that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what you want, but what the Republicans want for themselves. They've been operating like this for a while. And so it's rich to have the Michigan Republican Party tell Governor Whitmer that she's overstepping her bounds when it comes to executing government or gubernatorial authority in combating the COVID-19 crisis, when they gave all the power in the world to Governor Snyder to dictate to cities how their municipalities would be run, despite the fact that the emergency manager was not voted for. And they rendered those city governments null and void. Your mayor didn't have any power. Your city council didn't have any power. Your city managers didn't have any powers. Your aldermen didn't have any powers. They dictated to those cities what those cities could do. So it's very rich listening to Republicans talk to people about them having too much power. Very fucking rich. But yeah, that's in the news. Proud to be an American. And another damn story here in Proud to be an American that just kind of speaks to how these motherfuckers don't give a fuck about you, man. Like, they don't care. And this is why I think like the both sidesism of a lot of this shit, it rings hollow. They're not the same. They are not on the same plane. I don't buy into this like that both sides do it, man. It's two sides of the same coin. No, man, one side ain't playing with a full deck. They just not. So we go over to Arizona, where Arizona Republicans right now have introduced a bill that will allow the state legislature to overturn results in a presidential fucking election, man. We get the story here. This comes out of Business Insider. It says the top Arizona Republican who promoted a debunked conspiracy theory about the 2020 election has introduced a bill that would allow legislators to override the certification of the state's top elections official and effectively overturn the results of a future presidential election. Rep. Shauna Bolick, a Phoenix area Republican, does not dispute her own re-election in November, but after Donald Trump lost his bid for another term, she sought to block electors from casting their votes for the winner. President Joe Biden, despite the election having already been certified by Arizona's Secretary of State. Bolick, who promoted Sharpiegate, the false conspiracy theory that ballots were invalidated because poll workers gave Republican voters permanent markers instead of ballot ballpoint pens. Now the lawmaker who chairs the Ways and Means Committee in the state house is seeking to provide the legislature, narrowly controlled by Republicans, the formal power to revoke the certified results of a presidential election. Again, they don't have to be accountable to you. They are telling you right now, yeah, y'all might have voted for somebody else, but I don't like that somebody else y'all voted for. So no, fuck that. We not certifying those elections, and we're going to give this legislature the power to change it if we have to. And again, think about how these districts are drawn up every 10 years. This is why it's important for when they come by for the census. This is why it's important that you do be counted, because not only do they determine how much federal funding comes to that district based upon how many people are there, but also this is how they start determining how they're going to redraw these congressional districts. Every 10 years they do this. They do a redrawing of the maps. And right now, Republicans control the state house there. They control who votes for whom by controlling the district. So if you know that you got a large swath of Republican voters here and you got a large swath of Democratic voters here, let me go ahead and cut my district in a way where it's mostly Republicans and I'll never lose my seat. Despite the fact that, that these people may be in the same city, and in large part, there may be a majority of Democrats on this side. And it's happened in other ways. Like, it's happened the other way around. Like, to a large degree, when you think about California has been largely gentrified the opposite way. Right? So it's been done on both sides. And it goes back to that whole thing I was talking about before. Like, when it comes to a lot of the misinformation and disinformation, they'll take that grain of truth and then they'll blow it up into something else. And so with what we've been seeing these last, 10 to 15 years, and we've seen a concerted effort to gerrymanage the system so much to where we've got a minority group of people having an outsized influence on not only the elections, but the representation that they have in the government, and why the government has pretty much bogged down to a fucking crawl and can't get anything done that the American people want, because we've empowered we've empowered this level of these machinations to gum up the system. But the fact that Republicans are actively out here like, yo, your vote ain't gonna mean shit if we can get this law here passed, should scare you. Should scare you. Because despite the fact that Donald Trump didn't win this year, and despite all of the efforts that they put in this year to make that a thing, just because they didn't succeed this time doesn't mean they're not gonna try that shit again. So it's important for us to be vigilant about this, man, and to pay attention to what the hell's going on, because, yo, man, they don't care. And as a matter, like I said,
they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's been proud to be an American.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah. But y'all know what time it is.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
All right. It's Champ of the Week time here at the Spann podcast, man. And we got 2 champs this week, man. We've been we hitting y'all with the double whammy of the champs. First things first, our first champ of the week goes to the COVID bandit. I don't know why they calling this man the COVID bandit, but they calling this motherfucker the COVID bandit. And the reason why they calling him the bandit is he left a whole hell of a lot of money for some people. So we get this story here. This comes out of fox2detroit.com. It says in Estes Park, Colorado, a generous customer lifted the spirits of an entire Colorado bakery after leaving a tip large enough to send all 7 employees home with $200. On January 20th, a customer who wishes to be identified only as the COVID bandit, okay, so that's why, surprised the staff at Not Chop Bakery and Cafe with a $1,400 tip. The owner, Naila Kamatvela, said COVID bandit is a regular and Gloria Fuentes just happened to be his server that day. COVID bandit asked her how many employees were working, then calculated that into his massive tip. Across the top of the receipt, he wrote, "COVID sucks, $200 for each employee today." Across the top of the receipt, it said the restaurant industry has been hit particularly hard by the pandemic. According to Fox News, many customers have been leaving large tips at their favorite establishment. So yeah, man, like that's dope. That's dope because, you know, I know a lot of times, like when we hear about, you know, like the restaurant industry, more often than not, what we hear about is like these big, large businesses that are, you know, not even so much big and large, but the restaurant owners themselves and how much they've lost. Not so much about the people who actually work in those fields, who are waiting those tables, who depend upon those tips in order to make ends meet. And so for somebody to look out in that way, man, and be selfless in that way, to just drop $1,400 and give 7 people $200, yo, man, kudos to the COVID bandit, whoever they may be, man. Kudos to them. I just hope they didn't vote fucking Donald Trump and sell it this whole damn thing. But yo, they are champ of the week this week here at the Spann Report podcast. Another champ that we had this week here at the Spann Report podcast has to be the Josephine County healthcare workers, right? So the reason why the Josephine County healthcare workers are champs of the week this week is because they got stranded on the highway. It was snowing and shit, and they couldn't move. And they had COVID vaccines, man, that they did not want to go to waste. So what did they do? They got out of their car and they started asking people, did they want to get the COVID vaccine on the highway? So we get this story here. This comes out of the Denver channel.com. This is Channel 7 ABC affiliate in Denver. It says when a group of healthcare workers with COVID-19 vaccines on hand became stranded on the snowy Oregon highway, they improvised to make sure that the doses didn't go to waste. Josephine County Public Health says about 20 of its staff and volunteers had just finished a mass vaccination event at a local high school and were on their way to administer the remaining 6 vaccines in Grants Pass when a snowstorm hit on Highway 199 near Hayes Hill. The snow was going to stop the personnel from delivering those doses to the intended recipients, so they set up an impromptu clinic with an ambulance on hand for safety. Not wanting any doses to expire, the health department says its staff began walking from car to car, offering stranded motorists a chance at receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. In the end, officials say all 6 doses were administered, including one to a Josephine County Sheriff's Office employee who had arrived too late for the high school clinic, but ended up stopped with the others on her way back to Grants Pass. So yeah, man, like I said, as soon as that vaccine is made available to your man Spann gonna take it, because I want to get back to life, man. I want to get back to life. and how we used to do things, man. I just want other people to kind of embrace it and get back to like doing the things in ways we wish to do. We used to do things, man. I miss being able to like hug the necks of my family, man. I miss being able to like go to a barbecue or like just be at a bar and have a drink or go out on a nice night or a nice dinner with my wife, man. I miss all of that shit. And I mean, you could do the takeout. It's cool. And you know, I know like some of these restaurants are coming up with all sort of creative ways in which you can come to their restaurant and patronize them and stay there and eat and all that other shit, but it ain't the same, man. It just ain't the same. And so yo, I want us to get back to normal, and shout out to them for kind of like helping others feel like they can get back to some sense of normalcy as well, man. I've been running my mouth for a goddamn long time. But it's time for us to get on the body here. But before we do, of course, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us here at the Spann Report Podcast. Let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. We'll play them on the show. Respond in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. Those emails will get right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So you can go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Go to our website, www.thespannreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can vote in the polls. When we put those polls up, you can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And we appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network. And a special shout out to our Patreon patrons who allow for us to do this show here live here with you on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and Periscope, man. Thank you to the Patreon patrons. You can become a Patreon patron by going to our donate tab on the website, man, and helping to keep us with the ability to do this show live in the way in which we do it, man. Real talk. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you rocking with us over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But yo, like I said, man, I've been running my mouth for quite a bit. It's been fun, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.